Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of looking at songs that are based off of other media, whether that's film or stories, books, paintings even we've had this week, which is pretty cool. Today, though, I think it's pretty clear what this one's based off of. We're looking at the band Septicflesh from their 2017 album. Yes, Codex Omega. The song is called Dante's Inferno. It's probably about Dante's Inferno. Let's dive into this and see what Septicflesh has in store for us today. So we have a song, presumably about descending into hell, and we have heavy use of tritone at the beginning. Lots of tension, lots of evil sounds. What's interesting is the violin gives off an air of melancholy at times. Very powerful, very abrupt. Love the brass in the background. I knew it was coming back. So this is interesting. Other than when they were screaming Dante's Inferno, okay, this part, I'll talk about this later. There's too much going on. Yeah, 10. Okay, I'm digging the halftime here. Layered vocals. Bringing back the intro. No, seriously, bringing the choir in? All right. We have some symphonic death metal here. I like a little bit more of the symphony side of things, but honestly, I think the song did a pretty good job with what it did. I think primarily it's just that we have this wonderful melody line coming from the violins at the beginning and the violins and the guitars when we revisit the intro at the end of the track. I love the melody. That's going to be stuck in my head for a while. It's not just catchy, but it's also evocative. I think it's really well written from both like a memorable standpoint, but also an artistic standpoint. It's a solid melody. And that's about the only time we ever get any real sense of like narrative melody writing. We have a few riffs in the core, metal section of this track, the middle 3 minutes or so. There's some solid riffs in there. There's some melodic riffs, but none of them really stand out to me as something that pushes the song or pushes the narrative forward. They seem to support the song's need for riffage, for guitar stuff, for lots of things happening at one time, but they don't really stand out to me as anything memorable, not the way that the core motif does in the intro and the outro. And I just wish we might have heard a little bit more of that type of melody writing in here somewhere. But I do appreciate having the orchestral elements written like orchestra, like written like classical music. I like the harmonies, I like the melodies, I like the use of the brass and the strings. Everything feels right in the intro, everything feels right in the outro when we kind of bring the electric guitars underneath it, and we kind of pair some of the metal in symphonic writing there. But in the 3 minutes in the middle of the track, the violins and the brass, they're mostly used for atmosphere, for stingers, for effect, for texture. And we don't get any of that really great harmonic or melodic writing in there. And that's fine, I suppose, from a contrast angle. You kind of get a little dose of this, then a little dose of that, then you get back to the first dose. It works. I'm not saying this is a bad song in any aspect. But this is one of those cases, man. Hashtag ruined by the metal. You treat me to something I really love and then give me something totally different. You give me that aggressive metalness. And I want more of that beauty you gave me at the beginning, man. Dang. Again, though, like I said, it's not a bad song. And I think that everything here generally works within the framework of metal. I'm just coming at it from a different perspective. And I was put in that perspective because of the intro. No, I'm kidding. I was, but that's on me too. And it's something that I wouldn't bring to a second listen when I know what's in store, when I have the right expectations set for me. So what are these expectations? And once we get out of the intro, which, like I said, is great. I love everything about it. We get to the metal part. What's interesting here, right off the bat, we have a little bit of an odd time signature. Yeah, it's a 10-beat phrase, but it's not 5/4. I mean, you could certainly count this in groups of 5 and it would work. And that's probably the easiest way to transpose it to sheet music too, because then you have a consistent time signature. But the thing is, I find it easiest to count it in 4/4/2 because typically we will have a riff that's 4 beats long, and then we will replay the riff, which is another 4 beats, and then there's just a 2-beat extension. It doesn't really feel tied to anything else. We're not starting that idea over. It's not like we're doing 4/4 and then the first 2 beats of that 4. And the 2 beats we get don't really feel like they introduce anything. It's not like they lead back into the repetition. It's not like, I don't know, it's sort of just there. And I kept trying to figure out why. It never really clicked for me. Then we hit what I think is the chorus. He just says Dante's Inferno over and over and over. That's in 4/4. And then we hit the blast beat section. This follows that same 4/4/2 structure, but what's interesting here is that the 2 groups of 4 are in 1 speed of blast beats, and then we double that for the other 2, which feels like this moment of condensing time. It feels like we're trying to cram an entire 4 beats into just 2, so we just play everything faster trying to get it in there. It has this awesome feeling of already moving at a quick pace and then being lurched forward. You're moving faster than you want to, and then you're forced to proceed even quicker for a song about presumably Dante's Inferno, about descending the layers of hell. Moving faster through it, probably not something you want to do. Although I guess in Dante's case, maybe he does. He's ready to get back out. Just kind of exploring this place. I don't know. It creates a sense of urgency, of almost, to me, resistance. When we get to that point, I don't want to speed up anymore. We're already going pretty quick. It's already fairly aggressive. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you making it worse? So I kind of like that feeling. I think it works really well there, and I think possibly in retrospect they tried to adapt that feeling to the verse as well, and it just doesn't work there. I don't even think we have vocals during the 2 extra beats during that extension either. It's just there to create a gap, but well, maybe that's it. It's there to create a gap between the words so that the vocalist has a moment to breathe. I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me in the verse, but it does in this post-chorus. I don't know what it is. It's the blast beat section that typically comes after the chanting of Dante's Inferno. So yeah, most of this song is in 10 beat phrases, but they don't always make sense to me. And that's juxtaposed with standard 4/4 ideas elsewhere. Going back to the beginning of the metal section, it comes in heavy. We have growls, we have fast guitar work, we have pretty rigid drum work. We don't have a lot of dexterous, like melodic drums. It's very rigid, very metal drum work. It frequently sits in that pocket, delivers a lot of aggression, a lot of attacks, and it does flip over into the blast beats occasionally to be even more aggressive, more rigid, more consistent with its attacks. The drums are the backbeat to all of this. It's the heartbeat of the song. It's what gives it a lot of its aggression to begin with. But the guitar work, I mean, it's right there too, man. Lots of heavy riffage in here. Lots of gnarly sounding guitars. Lots of playing quickly. I don't really have a lot to add to this part. The time signature, I think, was the most interesting aspect. Everything else just feels like metaliness to me. You just get 3 solid metals or 3 solid minutes of some aggressive death metal with an occasional like brass stinger or something to elevate the sound a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's just metal to me. And I guess it works in this case. The aggression probably is a fine background sound, or not background, a fine atmospheric dressing for a song about descending into hell. But honestly, I think the tritones in the orchestral section that started the track off gives that feeling more so to me. And maybe that's just because I'm becoming numb to metal. It's just that sound. It's heavy, it's aggressive. I'm kind of losing the emotional weight of metal the more I listen to it. At the beginning of this journey, I was like, dude, this is gnarly. And now I'm like, yeah, it's aggressive death metal. It's just normal stuff. Here we go again. This isn't good for my psyche, is it? Okay. But like I said, I don't have anything to add to it. It's just, it's good metal, I suppose. Not my cup of tea, not something I would put on myself, but not objectively bad in any way. I don't know. I'm rambling here. Let's jump over to some lyrics, see what's going on there. I suppose I shouldn't have expected a lot from a song that has 3 minutes worth of time for lyrics to even be said. There's not a lot. This is very surface level, basically a synopsis of the poem more than anything else. At the beginning, we have some Latin that translates to through me the way to the infernal city, through me the way to eternal sadness, through me the way to the lost people. Says threatening and cold, a poem from the underworld where shadows walk beyond redemption. So kind of setting up what's going on here. We have Dante's Inferno, which it was a poem, right? Written in poetic stanzas. It's been a long time since I read Dante's Inferno. But it says that it's threatening and cold in this underworld, and that this is where shadows walk beyond redemption, where souls go who cannot be redeemed. Or, yeah, cannot be redeemed in the sense that there is no chance for them to find redemption. Not that they can't, not that they wouldn't be capable of redemption, but that they are far beyond that point now. And of course, it's because they died. Your chance of redemption in this ideology is before death. Verse 1 says, Minos wraps his serpent tail around himself to mark a sinner's level. The famous poet Dante's passing through the gates, the only living being in this accursed place, which is exactly how it works. When you meet Minos in hell, he will wrap his tail around himself a number of times as to denote what level of hell you're going to go to based on your sins. And here in the story of Dante's Inferno, Dante gets to be a living person who explores hell, being guided by Virgil, the only living person to have ever visited hell. Verse 2 says the greedy pay the price, the wrathful fight each other, the flames are burning heretics, red blood is boiling as thieves turn to vipers and vipers turn to thieves. Talking about some of the different layers here of hell and what's going on in them. And the outro states ninth, the lower plane. Who could ever guess? It's a frozen lake, an angel in his past, a fallen one right on the spot he crashed for aeons is lying down. And this is the ninth level of hell, which is a frozen lake, which actually has levels to it itself. 5? 4? Like I said, it's been a while. Maybe there are more than that even. But the worst of the worst souls were frozen in this lake at different depths to it. And in the lake also was frozen Satan, the devil. Although in this one it just says that he's been lying down. I'm pretty sure he was half frozen in it. Might be another thing that I misremembered though. Anyway, it says an angel in his past, of course, before Satan was the ruler of hell, he was an angel with God under the name of Lucifer. It says he was the fallen one. He was cast out of heaven to hell, and now he rules it. And here he lays in the lowest level, which is always interesting too, because I don't remember this detail either. In a lot of lore, the funny word to use for religion. Satan tends to rule hell. But like I said, I remember him being frozen in the lowest level of hell in Dante's Inferno, which means he's not the ruler then. He's just another soul condemned to it. But I might be misremembering that as well. And that's the whole song though. Like I said, very surface level. This is the cliff notes of the poem. We got a guy going through hell. He sees a bunch of stuff and he describes the lowest level. That's the song. There's not a lot of depth to it. And I think generally speaking, the song does a fine job of capturing a lot of this, although I still think Again, the beginning of the song with the classical writing and especially the heavy use of dissonant tritones, which show up a little bit in the guitar work too, but just not as pronounced for whatever reason. Maybe it's just the metalness, again, blinding me to the emotional element of it. I do think that the opening sells this story a lot better than the metal does, but that's just my personal preference, man, okay? If you got a different one, put it down in the comments because these are my thoughts on Dante's Inferno from Septicflesh, but what are yours? Did you enjoy this? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you have your own thoughts you'd like to add to this or your own perspective? Please put all of that in the comment section under the video. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.